So we've kind of inadvertently created this new series where I'm going to take the objections that our agents are hearing in the office with their clients and kind of help you work around them. And then we'll kind of have a little library of objection handlers, basically. So one that's been coming up kind of often is, what do we say to a client, or how do we work with a client that is a seller that wants to list their home well above the comps that we think their home would be worth? And this kind of comes up often when we're seeing these houses go for 20-30% over asking sometimes. Like our average right now in our market is 17% over the list price, sales price to list price. It's going 17% higher. Well, the sellers are seeing that and they're saying, well, Bob down the street sold his house for this much. I'm sure I could get this much more because I have nice baseboards and things like that, right? Where we know that that's not going to have a direct effect on their sales price, but they feel it does. Now, obviously, we could use a book like this, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, to get some scripts in there to say how to bring them back down to more of a realistic example or a realistic price that we'd like to see them at. But at the same time, sometimes you just have a seller, they have their price in mind, this is what they want. Now, there's two schools of thought on this. I've seen agents that say, well, I just won't take a home if it's going to be overpriced. They're afraid it's going to affect their statistics. They're afraid they're going to put a lot of time, effort, and in a lot of times money that they're going to put into marketing this home. And if they know it's not going to sell, they don't want to risk doing that. And that makes total sense. I don't want to knock on those agents, but at the same time, I actually still see it as a marketing opportunity, right? That we can take that overpriced home or a home that we feel is overpriced, put it on the market. We can bring in leads. We're going to do open houses. We're going to talk to the sellers in the neighborhood. We're going to do all these things that can still essentially compensate the time for us that we're going to be putting into this listing. So we know that whenever we list a home, we likely can bring in two more pieces of business from it. One piece being a potential seller in the neighborhood and another being a buyer that will meet through the open house or through running Facebook ads, just marketing in general, unrepresented buyers that come to us to learn more about the property. Now, at the same time, if it's wildly overpriced, that can create a problem. And we want to create realistic expectations for the seller, because one thing that can start to kind of dig you into a hole is if that seller believes that they're going to get the price, or believes that you encourage them to use that pricing strategy, and then they're unhappy with you. So what I'm going to do in that situation is I'm going to say, okay, I've shown you the sales. We've talked about the statistics of the market and what the market is showing us. However, if you want to go for this price, you're right, you never know what might happen. We see crazy things happen in this market all the time where maybe someone is willing to pay that price and we won't know unless we try. So I totally agree with that. At the same time, we know in our market, and this is a real number for our market right now, the average days on market is about 12. So let's try this. Let's go at the pricing strategy that you want to try. Let's do it for 2 weekends. We'll do open houses both weekends. Let's give this some time to sit on the market and see if we get an offer that would be acceptable to you. At the same time, after we get through 2 weeks on the market or 2 weeks of open houses, if we still don't have an offer that you're happy with, then we need to reevaluate our pricing strategy. And that's, naturally going to come in the form of most likely a price reduction, right? And so this way you're putting it in their mind ahead of time to say, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a discussion. I'm not going to say I told you so, right? But it's your kind of subliminal way of saying, hey, I told you so, this pricing didn't work. We tried it your way, now let's reduce that price and let's try it my way. Right, so this way you're putting the expectation in your head that you're going to have what could normally be a tough conversation. If you're just saying, yep, let's do it your way, let's get that price, you do it, and then in 2-3 weeks, you feel like you need to have that conversation, that can be a tough one, and you've already opened the door to that, saying that we're going to have that conversation in 2 weeks. And then because they're going to also start to feel, hey, well, Bob sold his house at whatever price you think was lower. At the same time, he actually sold his house. whereas your house is now sitting on the market. And it just creates a better conversation for us. So again, I wouldn't necessarily be afraid of taking the listing unless it's wildly overpriced. At the same time, if I know it's going to be overpriced and tougher to sell, maybe that's where I'm going to make sure I'm not including the staging, right? Where I might be putting in some guarantees into the contract of being paid back on some of that marketing if I need to be. It just gives you another tool for leverage to say, hey, we can try it your way. However, we're going to do this in case it just doesn't work out. You still want to convey the confidence that it is going to sell. It just might sell in a different amount of time than what he saw his neighbor Bob down the street sell his house in 3 days with multiple offers. It might take longer, you might have fewer offers, it still might happen, and if it doesn't, we're prepared for that, and we're going to talk about that new price after 2 weeks of open houses. Anyways, that's my approach on it. If you have any thoughts about it, drop them in the comments. And if you have any questions or objections you're coming up that you want answered, let me know and let's talk about it.